Well, he vowed to inflict as much pain as possible on the U.S. in response to Trump's tariffs.
You come at us, we aren't rolling over. Sure, we're going to get hurt. There's no doubt. But they're going to get hurt just as much. They don't have the manpower to build the cars right now. I don't start a tariff war, but we're going to win this tariff war. Then we're going to cancel Starlinks right away from Elon Musk.
A $20 billion battery deal, none of it for the U.S. Ontario, has inked a massive clean tech contract with Europe, turning its back on America, as US tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum soar to 50% in 2025. Washington stays silent with no statements or outreach, while cracks deepen in a once unshakable alliance. What happens when Canada, led by Ontario, pivots to new partners in trade and beyond? Let's find out in a decision that grabbed worldwide attention. Ontario has sealed a $20 billion deal with Volkswagen to construct one of North America's biggest battery plants located in St. Thomas. This factory will use lithium-ion cells to power more than 1 million electric vehicles annually. What makes this agreement stand out is not just its size, it is where the batteries are headed. Every single one, from a first produced to the millionth, will ship to Europe. Not one will land in the United States. This is no random choice. It is a deliberate move by Ontario to rethink its place in global trade. For years, the province built its economy around exports to the US, especially in the car industry. Ontario's factories supplied parts and materials that cross the border daily. That bond, though, has weakened. The breaking point came in early 2025. The United States doubled tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, pushing them to 50% to Ontario's government. This felt personal. A trusted partnership turned shaky. Overnight, faced with this, Ontario chose action over complaint. The Volkswagen plant is the most substantial proof of its new path. By sending all its batteries to Europe, the province dodges the ups and downs of US trade rules. Instead, it ties itself to a region with firm climate plans, bold clean energy goals, and steady policies. This shift shows Canada's growing unease with America's economic moves. Ottawa has spoken out, but Ontario has done more. It is picking its partners with care, not just waiting for Washington to change the deal. Does more than redirect exports. It hints at a quiet split. No walls have gone up and no trade pacts have collapsed. Still, the change is real money, and markets are flowing differently. Ontario is stepping up as a link to Europe, not just a feeder to the US. This is a big bet on a new future on the ground. The effects are taking shape fast. St. Thomas is buzzing with construction. Auto workers are learning new skills to match European needs. Roads, power lines, and shipping plans are being built to EU standards. Ontario's goods move south to cities like Detroit and Buffalo. For decades now, they are setting sail for ports in Rotterdam and Hamburg. The old north-south trade lines are fading. An eastward flow is rising in their place. This plan is risky but brilliant. Europe promises a clear roadmap for green energy and solid support for projects like this. For Volkswagen, that means a market they can count on. For Ontario, it means a stronger hand. By locking in Europe as a buyer, the province boosts its industries and cuts its need for a neighbor that keeps changing the rules. The local impact is hard to miss. In Northern Ontario, suppliers are lining up shipments of nickel and lithium to keep the factory running. Clean power from the province's nuclear plants and hydro dams will fuel the operation. Every part of this project fits Ontario's new focus. Every dollar spent backs this shift. Jobs are coming. 2,000s of workers will build and run the plant, giving the region a fresh economic lift. For the United States, this stings. It is not just a lost contract. It is a signal. A close friend is turning elsewhere for growth and reliability. The reason is apparent. Tariffs are a heavy tool. When used too much, they hit allies as hard as rivals. Trust once broken does not heal with a handshake or a quick fix. Ontario's leaders see this. They are not waiting for apologies. Choosing Europe for every battery is not about picking a fight. It is about staying strong. Ontario wants partners who match its goals: a cleaner economy and a stable future. This move looks forward. It bets on growth that lasts, not dodging the next tariff blow. The province is not closing its doors, it is opening new ones. What Ontario is doing could spread. Other parts of Canada might take note and follow. One factory could spark a bigger change. North America's trade map might never look the same if that happens. For now, Ontario's stance is firm. It has picked its side. That side is not Washington. This bold step ties into a larger story. The following section will dig into how America's tariff hikes sparked this shift and how Canada is responding, showing the cracks in a partnership that once seemed unbreakable. Ontario's power grid stands as a vital link in North American life. Its nuclear plants and hydroelectric dams produce clean, reliable energy that powers Canadian homes and millions of lives across the US. Border states like Michigan and New York depend on this steady flow. For years, this network symbolized unity between Canada and the United States, yet in 2025 it became a tool of Pressure trade disputes with Washington spark a shift. Ontario turn its energy exports into a strategic weapon, proving that power lines carry more than electricity. They can influence. The scale of this reliance is striking. Ontario supplies nearly 30% of the electricity imported by border states. In Michigan, this energy keeps hospitals open and factories running. In New York, it lights up cities and towns. This isn't a minor convenience, it's a lifeline. Early in 2025, Ontario made a bold move. It added a 25% surcharge to all electricity sold to the US. This wasn't a minor fee adjustment, it was a direct response to American tariffs on Canadian goods. The impact hit fast. Utilities in Michigan issued warnings. Grid operators in New York tested backup systems. Local leaders pulled out plans meant for storms, not trade wars. Ontario's message landed hard. America's energy stability rested on Canadian choices. This action revealed a hidden weakness. The US had long prided itself on energy security, built on oil fields and solar farms, but Ontario's surcharge showed a different truth. America's grid wasn't entirely its own. It leaned on a foreign neighbor. If Ontario chose to cut, the supply blackouts could strike within days. Hospitals might dim, factories could stall, entire communities would feel the loss. This wasn't just about cost, it was about control. Ontario proved it could press the US without firing a shot. American officials took notice. Their northern partner wasn't just a supplier anymore, it was a force to reckon with. For decades, the Canada-US energy system thrived on trust. Canada shared its surplus power. America gained a steady, clean resource. Both sides won. No one saw this grid as a weapon. But in 2025, that changed. Ontario's surcharge broke the old rules. It wasn't only about money, it was about standing firm. When Washington raised tariffs, Ottawa refused to stay quiet. Ontario acted instead. Each extra dollar on an American bill carried a warning. Canada could push back, and it did. The harmony of the past gave way to tension. What once flowed freely now came with a financial and symbolic price. This shift shook the alliance to its core. Trust had held the energy partnership together. Now cracks spread fast. In Buffalo, officials checked generators. In Detroit, businesses demanded answers. In Albany, lawmakers met in urgent sessions. The US faced a new reality. Its energy wasn't as secure as it thought. Ontario's move wasn't a one-time jab. It hinted at bigger threats like cutting the power entirely. That possibility loomed large. Analysts in Washington rewrote their views. Canada wasn't the predictable ally of old. It was charting its course, ready to flex its strength when needed. As trust faded, Canada turned its gaze elsewhere. In March 2025, Prime Minister Mark Carney stepped onto French soil. His first state visit wasn't to Washington, it was to Paris. Standing with President Emmanuel Macron, he spoke of new ties. The choice was deliberate. Canada wanted partners beyond its southern neighbor. This wasn't just a photo opportunity, it was a signal. Talks in Paris covered trade and security, hinting at a future less tied to US whims. For years, America had been Canada's focus. Now Europe offers a fresh start. Stability across the Atlantic looked more appealing than uncertainty next door. This pivot reached into defense too. Canada put its $19 billion F-35 jet deal with the US on hold. Instead, it opened doors with European firms like France's Dow and Sweden's Saab. This wasn't about cost alone, it was about freedom. Europe promised more than planes, it offered technology Canada could control and build itself. The US kept its tech locked tight. The pause stunned defense circles. Canada had long bought American gear, without question, but trade disputes shifted the ground. A Canadian official said that trust lost in one area spilled into others. Europe stepped in as a new option, reshaping old alliances. Ontario's energy play and Canada's broader moves tell one story. They show a nation seeking its path. The surcharge rattled America's confidence. The Paris visit and defense talks showed Canada's new direction. This isn't a loud break, it's a steady turn. The US still matters, but it's no longer the only player. Canada's leaders see a world beyond their borders. In Michigan, lights still glow with Ontario's power. In Ottawa, plans shift toward Europe. The old balance is tilting. Washington feels the change. Its northern neighbor isn't waiting for permission anymore. These steps ripple outward. Energy tensions touch more than power bills. They strain a partnership once seen as unbreakable. Canada's pivot to Europe signals a more profound shift. It's not just about jets or trade deals, it's about standing taller. Ontario leads this charge with its grid. Its quiet strength sets the tone, but this is only part of the picture. As Canada redefines its place, its economy follows suit. The next chapter will show how these moves reshape trade, investment, and North America's future. Ontario is charting a bold new course in the global economy. In 2025, the European investment wave began reshaping the province's future. Countries like Germany, Norway, and the Netherlands pour billions into Ontario's energy and manufacturing sectors. This is not a fleeting trend, it represents a strategic partnership built on Shared goals of clean technology, economic stability, and long-term growth the renewable energy sector is leading this transformation. Ontario's rich wind and hydrogen production resources have caught Europe's eye. A standout example is the green hydrogen project in Thunder Bay, which secured €500 million from a German energy fund. Such a project would likely have relied on American capital a few years ago now. Europe is the driving force. The project aligns with strict EU standards from environmental protections to labor practices. This shift is more than financial. It shows a growing confidence in Ontario as a trusted partner. European investors view the province as a stable gateway to North America, unburdened by the political swings in Washington. The electric vehicle industry is another magnet for European funds. Companies from the Netherlands and southern Germany are setting up battery production plants in southwestern Ontario. These are not small ventures. They include entire assembly lines, technology sharing agreements, and contracts with local suppliers. The goal is to create a self-sufficient system that operates independently of American markets. Ontario is no longer just a cog in North America's industrial machine. It is becoming a hub for Europe's clean energy ambitions. This influx of capital has redirected trade flows. Supply chains that once crossed the US border now stretch across the Atlantic. Nickel and cobalt mined in northern Ontario are processed locally and shipped to European ports. Quebec's shipping hubs have replaced American cities like Detroit as key export points. Rotterdam and Hamburg are now the primary destinations for Ontario's goods. The United States is no longer the default market for Canadian products. This change marks a profound shift in economic priorities. Canada's significant pension funds are moving in lockstep with this trend. The Canada Pension Plan Investment Board and the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System have cut back significantly on US investments, music. Instead, they channel billions into Europe's industrial and innovation hubs, particularly in Germany and Scandinavia. The reasoning is straightforward. Europe offers consistent policies and predictable growth. The United States, by contrast, grapples with trade barriers and regulatory uncertainty. For Canada's financial giants, Europe's stability is a stronger draw than proximity to American markets. Even the mechanics of trade are changing. Canadian companies, especially in clean energy and advanced manufacturing, increasingly use euros and yen for international transactions. The US dollar, long the standard, is losing its dominance. This shift is not about symbolism, it is about practicality. By diversifying away from American financial systems, Canadian firms gain greater flexibility and shield themselves from global market risks. This move reflects a broader trend, where confidence in US economic leadership is waning. These developments carry weighty implications as investment and trade tilt toward Europe. The United States loses its hold on Canada's economy. For decades, American markets and banks have shaped Canadian financial decisions. That influence is fading. Each euro invested in Ontario strengthens Europe's role. Each dollar withdrawn from US markets weakens America's position. This is not a sudden rupture. It is a steady drift driven by strategic choices and economic realities. Ontario's transformation is evident in everyday changes. New factories are built to meet European design standards. Workers train under EU labor guidelines. Energy systems are upgraded with transatlantic trade in mind. This is not mere adaptation. It is a deliberate move toward deeper integration with Europe. Infrastructure projects now prioritize long-term partnerships across the ocean over short-term deals with the US. The United States is being sidelined not through conflict, but through choice. As Washington turns inward with its policies, Ontario looks outward for growth. American tariffs and unpredictable regulations have driven Canada to seek more dependable allies. Europe fills that role. This shift extends beyond Ontario. Provinces like Quebec and British Columbia are closely observing these changes. Leaders in Brussels and Berlin are taking note of this as well. Ontario's actions could inspire a broader Canadian realignment. The stakes are high. Ontario's pivot challenges the notion of North America as a unified economic bloc. It raises questions about Canada's long-term relationship with the United States. If this trend spreads, the balance of power on the continent could shift permanently. Europe's growing influence may prompt other regions to reassess their economic ties. The arrows of trade and investment no longer point south, they point east across the Atlantic. This story is still unfolding. Ontario's embrace of European capital is just one piece of a larger puzzle. Canada is reshaping the economic and political landscape of North America, led by Ontario. The country is steadily turning away from its long-standing reliance on the United States, instead it forges deeper ties with Europe across trade, energy, and defense. Ontario has set a bold course from the $20 billion Volkswagen battery plant in St. Thomas exporting solely to Europe to the 25% surcharge on electricity sent to us state's European capital now floods its clean energy and manufacturing sectors while Canadian pension funds shift investments from us. Markets to Germany and Scandinavia. These moves signal more than frustration with America's 50% tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum in 2025. They mark a strategic pivot toward independence and stability. This transformation is not loud, it is methodical. Ontario's actions reflect a broader Canadian desire for reliable partners in an uncertain world. The United States, with its unpredictable trade policies, no longer fits that role. Europe, with clear climate goals and steady regulations, does. Prime Minister Mark Carney's choice of Paris over Washington for his first state visit in March 2025 underscores this shift. Canada is redefining its alliances by pausing us defense deals like the F-35 and exploring European alternatives. The old North American partnership built on trust gives way to a new reality where Canada charts its path. What lies ahead could reshape the continent. If Quebec and British Columbia follow Ontario's lead, Canada might spark a broader movement to distance itself from us. Influence. Quebec's ports already handle rising European trade, and British Columbia's clean energy projects draw interest from Asia and Europe. Such a trend could weaken America's economic grip on the region's supply chains. Once flowing south might permanently turn east or west. Energy grids could decouple, leaving us states scrambling for alternatives. Defense ties, like those in NORAD, might loosen as Canada aligns more with NATO's European members. This would not mean a total break. Canada and the US would still trade and cooperate, but the balance would tilt with Canada holding greater leverage. The bigger question is who will lead North America's future. Will the United States adapt, softening its tariffs to rebuild trust, or will it double down, pushing Canada further into Europe's orbit? If Canada's pivot spreads, Europe could gain a stronger foothold in the region, challenging us. Dominance. For now, Ontario's quiet revolution sets the stage. Is this the start of a deeper divide between Canada and America? Who will hold the most influence in North America a decade from now? These questions linger as Canada redraws the map, one decision at a time.